we're going to start on our backs in supine pose. So allowing ourselves to make our way to the earth, finding a comfortable position, either with our hands on our abdomen, one on the abdomen, one on the chest, or open at the sides of our body alongside the mat. We'll take a few deep breaths in through the nose, exhaling through the mouth. At whatever speed and vigor feels good. Feeling the breath enter through the abdomen, waving up through the chest and into the head and letting it go. One more, just like that. And then allowing the breath to return to its natural rhythm, in and out through the nose. Getting a sense of where the body enters, the rising and falling of the rib cage, and the speed of our breath. Feeling the contact that our bodies make on the earth below. And getting a sense of the energy of our body at this time. What we might be bringing to our practice. Perhaps an intention that we set is to let go of anything that doesn't serve us. Perhaps an emotion, energy, or thoughts. Breathing in a sense of curiosity and excitement, gratitude for the opportunity to practice. Of course, letting go of any expectation for where and how our bodies shall move. Fitting poses to our bodies, not the other way around. And we're not going to push anything too far, too fast. And the more we practice this on the mat, the more accessible it becomes in everyday challenges. Good. Bringing our awareness back to the space around us. We'll bend our knees, bringing our feet flat on the mat. And gently bringing our left knee in to hug. Maybe shifting into the hip joint. Shifting our bodies left to right. We're finding stillness. Keeping our shoulder blades firmly planted on the earth, drawing the knee towards our chest. Good, and we'll release the left foot back to the earth and draw the right knee into the chest, bringing our hands either on top of the shin or behind the thigh. And again, just wiggling around, getting a sense of what's happening in the hip joint, sensations we may have in the hip flexor or even the lower back. Maintaining our steady rhythm of breath in and out through the nose. Good, releasing the right foot back to the earth, we draw the left knee back in. An option to float the right leg long on the mat. If that's not comfortable in the lower back, we bend the knee again. Always finding what works best for us in this moment. Keeping the shoulder blades firm on the mat. Using dynamic strength of our arms to draw the knee closer towards us. But drawing the right foot back in, bending the knee, and we allow the left foot back to the earth and switch legs again. Right knee tucks in, left leg can float long. Keeping our awareness on our breath and our physical sensations to create some headspace. And of course, it's natural to have distractions. Just take note of them and let them keep passing by like clouds in our minds. Bringing our awareness back to the breath or the body. Good. Drawing the left foot back up, releasing the right foot back down. And then we'll hug both legs in. Lifting our heads off the earth, curling up into a little ball. Option, of course, to rock side to side. Bringing a little bit of synovial fluid and nourishment to our spine with a gentle massage. And a little neuro flossing on the neck, creating space between each vertebrae, from tailbone through to crown of the head. Good, releasing our head back to the earth, and we'll stack our feet over our hips, flexing the feet, pointing the toes down towards our forehead. Feeling a nice stretch along the back of the legs, through the calf muscles and into the ankles. Maybe you want to wiggle the feet around, rolling, pointing, flexing. And then when you're ready, go ahead and lift the head back off the earth, wrapping our arms around the legs. Gentle hug here, adding a bit more intensity. Keeping our awareness on the steady breath. Listening to our breath as a guide, not pushing too far too fast. If it becomes labored, we ease off. Good. Bringing our head back to the earth. Let's cross one ankle over the opposite thigh and hug that in. Figure 4, thread the needle. Drawing the knee in towards the chest again, this time working the outside along the IT band that runs from the lower back through to the knee. Gentle awareness on the breath. Allowing the right foot to float back down, holding the left foot with the right hand. And we're going to bring the left foot all the way over to the right side of the body, holding onto it. Option to butterfly the knee away, working through the back of the hip, gently butterflying and pulsing here, breaking through any connective tissues that may be stuck or gummy. Adding a bit more elasticity as we go. And floating the hip, the left hip back to the earth, keeping a hold of our left foot, tucking it into the pelvis, and allowing the left knee to fall towards the right foot. Again, you can continue to butterfly or find stillness for 3 more breaths here. And then we release the left foot out of the right hand. And bring the knees all the way back into the chest. Gentle hug, rocking side to side or finding stillness. And we'll repeat that sequence on the other side. First off, stacking our feet over our hips, Flexing the feet, driving the heels up, seeing if we've gained any flexibility since the last time. Maybe we're feeling a little less tight in the back of the legs. And we'll cross our right ankle over the opposite thigh, or opposite. And then go ahead and thread the needle, hugging that in, shifting, or again, finding stillness. Steady rhythm of breath, gentle focus. And we'll come into our gentle twists. So grabbing onto the left foot or right foot with the opposite hand. How about that? Bringing the left foot to the earth, allowing the right foot to completely come across the body. We hang on to it, and then we butterfly the knee as that feels comfortable. Checking in with what's happening in the lower back, the hip, through to the knee. Just gently working to break up the microfascia, to create more elasticity as we bring synovial fluid to the area, lubricating, creating more lightness and space. Good. Bringing the right hip back to the earth, keeping hold of the other foot, tucking it into our pelvis, allowing the knee to fall towards the earth, towards the opposite foot. Option to continue butterflying here, or again, finding stillness. We're here for 3 more breaths. And then we'll let go of our foot, allowing the knees and the legs, the feet to fall towards the earth. Extending the legs long on our mat, reaching our arms high above our heads, arching our lower back. Taking deep breaths into the abdomen, through to the lower back, and sighing it out. 2 more. Good. One more time, let's hug the knees into the chest. Giving them a big hug. And we'll slowly roll ourselves over to the side and come into an easy seated pose. Option to bring one ankle in front of the other, or stacking the legs on top of one another. Option to bring a block under our hips for a little extra height, for more diaphragmatic breathing, whatever feels good. Palms are facing up, hands are on the top of our knees or thighs, tall torso, and a gentle gaze of our face. Connecting with the rhythm of our breath, the expansion of our ribs laterally, and the length of our spine. Right. Bringing our hands onto our knees, we'll use them as leverage, and we'll slowly start to circle in one direction. Keeping our sit bones planted on the earth, maybe pushing our knee away with one hand. This doesn't have to be a big movement. We're just warming into the spine, getting a sense of what's happening in our lower back and our hips. Checking in with our side body where we might be holding energy. I'm just working slowly to start to release that energy, to create a little more fluidity and space. And go around 2 more times. And we'll all meet back up in the center. Reaching our arms over our shoulders on the inhale. And we'll come into an open rotation, bringing one hand behind us, the other on the same knee, same side as the arm. Gazing over our shoulder, pressing the fingers into the earth to lift our torso tall. Deep breaths in. Finding any areas of discomfort that might need nourishment. Just bringing a gentle awareness there. Two more breaths here. And coming out of that, we'll inhale, reaching our arms up over our shoulders. Exhale, hinging forward, keeping our sit bones on the earth, bringing our hands to support. And slowly walking our hands out as we melt into our hips and our lower back, trying to maintain a flat back. Allowing our head to hang heavy between our arms. Noticing any heat that might be radiating through our vertebrae, maybe from the lower back or into the neck. Breathing into it, taking our time to allow that energy to release and expand beyond the spine. Deep breaths in, and we'll walk our hands back into our torso, gently stacking the vertebrae, shoulders, neck, and head. Good, rounding. We'll extend our legs long, give them a little rinse. And then we'll cross the opposite foot in front, back into our easy seated pose. Whatever feels comfortable, it may be slightly different on this side, that's all right. Again, we honor the state of our body. Finding our comfortable pose, and then we'll circle around the opposite direction, bringing our hands to our knees. As big or as little of movement as feels good in the body. Listening to those yummy sensations. Trusting that it's our body protecting us, telling us something. Just listening. Taking this time to connect with our physical being. Giving our brains a little bit of reprieve. Finding a gentle, soothing motion. Two more circles. And then we all meet up in the center, back to neutral. Exhaling. Deep breath in, lifting our arms over our shoulders. We rotate, open rotation. Opposite hand comes behind. We continue to hold on to our knee. And we gaze over our shoulder, pressing our fingertips into the earth to elongate the spine. breathing space between the vertebrae, and of course bringing awareness to any areas of discomfort. Perhaps we expected to feel discomfort, but we don't, so let's celebrate that. Let's celebrate the areas of our body that feel light, strong, and healthy. Two more breaths here. And on the next inhale, we'll come back to center, reaching our arms over our shoulders, gazing up. Exhale, we hinge forward, keeping our sit bones on the earth, bringing our hands down for support, and gently starting to melt into the hips and the lower back. Supporting with our forearms, a block, our fists, or whatever feels right. Allowing our heads to hang heavy, adding that neural flossing all the way through the neck. Calm, steady rhythm of breath. Inhaling, nourishing air along the spine. Nourishing all the microfibers, all the tissues that support us on a daily basis with the magic of our bodies. Today we give ourselves the nourishment we need, gratitude for our bodies, and the care that we need to continue three more big breaths. And then on the next inhale, we'll press our bodies up using our hands. Slowly stacking the vertebrae, walking the hands in, shoulders, neck, and head rolling up and back to neutral. Good. Extending our legs wide on the mat. We'll come into a wide angle pose. That'll feel good on the knees, no doubt. We can use our hands to push ourselves forward. We'll keep our feet pointing up to the sky. We don't want our legs collapsing, but rather to roll the thigh muscles back so that our feet stay tall. We'll stay here for a few minutes, slowly starting with a side bend. So lifting our right arm up and then coming over towards the left side. Allowing the left hand to fall naturally on the inside or on top of the leg. Reaching our right arm tall over our ear. If that becomes uncomfortable, we can bring our hand to our head, and we can also support our head with our lower arm. Whatever feels good. Keeping our neck in alignment with the spine. And slowly melting towards the left side of the leg. Body. Conscious not to collapse onto the left. Seeing if we can't reach a little higher, sink a little lower, maintaining that steady rhythm of breath. We'll slowly lower the right arm, hinging ourselves over top of the left leg so our hands come onto either side. Elongating the torso on the inhale and slowly hinging on the exhale. Option here to keep the foot flexed or to allow it to point. Breathing length into the back of the left leg and continuing to focus on the lower back and right hip. Gentle, Noticing if we're holding stress in our jaw or our shoulders. That may be our indication that we're pushing too far. Good. On the next inhale, we press ourselves back up, coming back to center. Lifting our left arm over the shoulder on the inhale. Pointing our toes back up, coming over to the right side, allowing the right arm to fall where it will naturally. Breathing length into the left side of the body from the fingertips through to the lower back. Again, we can support our head as needed. We can lower our top arm. Keeping both sit bones firmly planted, we're not allowing the left hip to float out. Visualizing light and space being created wherever we need. Reassuring our bodies that we're in a safe place. We can let go of any memory of discomfort, tension, or pain. 2 more breaths here, maybe reaching a little bit higher. And we'll slowly rotate our torso over the right leg, bringing our hands onto either side, elongating, pressing up. Inhaling, long torso, and exhale, we hinge over the right leg. Checking in with the shoulders that they're loose. We're not holding all of our tension and shifting it to our jaw. One more big breath here. And then we'll walk our hands, stacking our vertebrae. Coming back to center. Inhale, reaching both arms over the shoulders. Exhale, we hinge forward. Once again, pointing those toes to the sky, feeling the stretch in the inner thighs. Rotating those thighs back so that our toes aren't collapsing. And we support with our hands, a block, our forearms, our fists. Continuing to press those thighs back so that we work into the inner thighs. Breathing through the discomfort that we may feel as we create flexibility and length. Those micro gains will come, we just need to be patient. Checking in with the toes. Maybe walking the hands out a bit further. We take the time we need to reassure our bodies and to release the stress. Building resilience in our minds, knowing that we won't be here forever, trusting the process. There will be a transformation that we can witness. We'll be here for 5 more breaths. And on the next inhale, we'll slowly press ourselves up. Celebrating any minor releases that we may have felt. With our hands under our knees, we'll gently release that, bringing the bottoms of our feet together in front of us. Either reaching for the ankles or wrapping our hands around the back of the feet, and then butterflying, continuing to hold dynamic tension in our upper body, drawing the shoulder blades in and back. Shoulders are drawn away from the ears. And of course we have smiles on our faces. Good. Coming into a seated tree pose. Let's keep the left foot tucked in. We'll scooch our hips to the right side of the mat, elongating the right leg. Good. Bringing our left hand underneath our shoulder. And we're going to come up into our wild thing. So bringing our right hand up and over our face. Hinging, pressing the hips forward, planting the right foot, reaching the right hand over the face or the ear, finding a comfortable pose here, pressing the hips forward, opening up into the left arm, the chest, the hips. Calm, steady rhythm of breath. Finding somewhere to gaze at, either down at our left hand or behind us. 3 more breaths. Good, and then we'll come all the way back down, coming out of that gently and slowly. Lovely. Let's bring both knees in and give them a gentle hug. And we reset, single leg tree on the opposite side. So we shift our hips over to the left, extending the left leg long, tucking our right foot in. Finding our right hand under the shoulder. And when we're ready, we reach up with our left hand over our face, lifting our hips, engaging the glutes, planting the left foot on the earth, finding a gentle back bend here. Calm, steady rhythm of breath. And then we can gaze around, finding somewhere that feels good to gaze at. Maybe we move our neck. Feeling an opening through the chest, down the right arm, in through the hips. Three more breaths. And we slowly come out of that, extending both legs long. Option to grab a sip of water here as we reset. Giving our legs a little wiggle. And when you're ready, we'll come into a forward fold. Inhale, reaching our arms up over our shoulder. Exhale, we hinge forward, keeping our toes pointed up, feet are together. Either a passive stretch here, just allowing the arms to fall naturally where they will, or a pulse, reaching beyond the feet, or of course grabbing onto our feet or our toes, our shins, whatever feels good for a more dynamic stretch if that's what we need. Settling into the pose, checking in with the sensations that we may be feeling. And again, breathing space into those areas of discomfort. And perhaps we've gained a little bit more flexibility already in our practice today and we're feeling a little less tight. Let's celebrate that. Four more breaths. And on the next inhale, we'll release, slowly stacking the vertebrae, pointing the toes, rolling the shoulders up and back, bringing our hands behind us. And we're going to bring our feet in, bending the knees 90 degrees, feet are hip width apart. We'll come into a reverse table here. So good, strong, firm grounding of our hands, lifting our hips high. Option to shift, option to find stillness, working through the front of the arms and the collarbones. Allowing our head to hang back or staying lifted, whatever feels good. Three more breaths here, breathing space into those areas of discomfort. And we release out of that gently, finding our way into all fours. With a sip of water in between as desired. Whenever you get here, we'll bring our hands under our shoulders, our knees under our hips. We'll shift our weight left to right. As big or as little movement as the body is craving. Allowing the head to hang heavy and shift with the momentum of the hips. We're going to do about 6 to 8 down dogs, adding lunges in between to start working through tension in our legs. So coming back to stillness, curling our toes underneath us, and shifting our hips up into our down dog on the next exhale. Taking a few breaths here to settle in, to get a sense of the sensations. Checking the grounding of our hands and feet, the gentle, soft expression on our faces and in our jaws. And we'll lift our left leg off the earth. We're pressing our weight into the right heel. Option to bend the left knee and open the hips. Feeling energy through from the left hip, maybe down right thigh. Good, shifting our hips back to center, stepping through into our first low lunge. Left foot comes up. Right knee comes down. We're going to keep our right hand planted, flattening the back foot. Good. Shifting our weight forward. Finding stability here. We're opening up the right hip flexor. Once we find our stability, we can bring both hands onto our left thigh and bring our torsos back tall. Breathing gently into the right hip. Slowly starting to feel an opening. As we draw the left hip back, the right hip forward, we want to keep the hips squared. Feeling that opening of the right hip flexor. Again, where are we holding tension? Can we let go of? Gentle gaze, gentle expression. Bringing our right hand back to the earth, Lifting our right leg up, reaching our left hand back, maybe grabbing onto the right foot, coming off the knees, sinking forward, working through the quadricep, lifting the chest, checking in with the breath. Is it calm and steady, just as when we started our practice? What can we do to get there? Micro movements, shift. Excellent. Releasing the right foot back down to the earth, keeping our right hand planted. And we're going to shift, opening the left thigh, opening the left hip, pressing our left hand into it. You may even feel a little bit of a stretch in the right hip flexor. That's fine. Gentle rotation here. Making the pose fit our body and what we need. Good. Coming out of that, back into all fours. Gentle transition, and we'll step back into our down dog. Deep breaths in. And on the exhale, we lift our hips high. Go ahead and pedal the feet. Shifting the weight left to right. And we'll come back to stillness, lifting our right leg high off the earth, finding grounding, pressing all of our weight through the left heel. And then option, of course, to bend the right knee, opening up the hips, stacking the right knee on top of the right hip. Noticing any areas of tension or a pattern that may be running from the right knee through the left thigh muscle. We'll shift our hips back to center, gazing forward. We'll step through low lunge. Right foot comes through, left knee and foot lower. We find our stability here. And when and if we're ready, we can bring our hands onto our right thigh and lift our torsos tall. Drawing our right hip back, left hip comes forward so that we're squared. And we're working through that left hip flexor. Finding support on a block or our hand as needed, slowly melting forward. Calm, steady rhythm of breath, tall torso. Good. Bringing our left hand to the earth, we'll lift our left foot and reach our right arm back, keeping our chest tall, elongated spine, coming off the knee, grabbing onto the foot if that feels accessible. Calm breath. We're not forcing anything here. Pressing our left hand into the earth to keep our torsos tall. Gazing over the right shoulder. And releasing out of that, we come back to center. Bringing our right hand over to our right knee. pressing it away, opening into the hip, maybe shifting, maybe continuing to focus on the left hip flexor, whatever feels good. We fit the pose to our body. For 5 more breaths. All right, coming back to center, all fours. And we step up into down dog, rinsing out the knees, curling our toes under our shins. Inhale. And exhale, we lift. Option to pedal, shift, or find stillness. Back to center. Once again, we'll lift our left leg high, pressing our weight through the right heel. Holding here for 1 more breath. Melting our chest to the earth. Gazing forward, we step through again. And we pivot the right foot out. We come into Skandasana. Either staying high, if that's enough, or coming up, pointing the toes, holding our Skandasana, finding stability here, tall torso. Maybe we press the left elbow into the left thigh. Maybe we do a bind, or we find another pose that feels good, that works into our areas of need. What it is we need today: an opening of the thighs, the back, strength building. Noticing any micro gains, slight adjustments that our bodies make, celebrating those. We're going to come out of that into a wide angle, pointing our toes forward. Tall torso, deep breaths in. And on the exhale, we hinge into the back of the legs, into the hips, melting. Walking our legs out if it feels more stable. Allowing our heads to hang heavy between our arms. Good, and then we'll shift over to the opposite side, Skandasana. Either staying high or floating ourselves down, lifting our left foot. The toes are pointed up. Once again, just settling into whatever pose feels good for our bodies. Maybe it's different on this side, that's all right. Celebrating any micro gains that we may be making. Calm, steady mind, steady breath, stillness of our bodies. And once again, we'll press into the center, pointing our feet forward, straightening our legs and hanging heavy. Deep breath in, elongating the torso. Good. Pressing our torsos parallel to the floor. We're going to pivot, right foot. Good. Planting our hands, we step back into our single leg down dog with our right leg extending, pressing all of our weight into the left heel. We've come full circle. Good. Gazing forward, coming up on the toes, stepping through, bringing the right knee to the right wrist. Pigeon. Walking the left foot back. Staying tall to start. Deep breath in, pressing the earth away. Keeping our hips forward facing. Gentle back bend here, breathing into it. And then slowly starting to melt into the hips. Coming forward with each exhalation. Keeping our attention on the physical sensations and on our breath. Perhaps bringing our awareness to our third eye, visualizing a color, or visualizing our happy place if this isn't it. And then we'll settle in here for 5 more breaths. Option to extend the right arm over the head. Option to thread the left arm through, threading the needle. And we'll come out of that gently, once again using our hands for support, coming into all fours, rolling over onto the right hip, bringing the legs underneath us, stepping back up into down dog slowly, pressing the weight back through our heels, rinsing it out. 2 more big breaths here before we do the opposite leg. Lifting our left leg high into the sky, pressing all the weight through the right heel, finding grounding in our hands. And slowly we float our left knee all the way through to the left wrist, using the toes of the right foot to pull us out, staying high to start, deep breaths in. Tall torso, breathing into the lower back, creating a little space in the abdomen. And then slowly with each exhalation, we can melt forward as the body allows. Continuing to support ourselves with our arms, our blocks, whatever we have accessible. Checking in with our jaw and our shoulders, making sure we haven't shifted tension to those areas, that we are in fact letting go. And perhaps this time we think of some relationships in our lives that we want to inject a little more compassion into. Maybe giving gratitude for somebody or compassion for somebody that we struggle with. Maybe we share our light with them today. Gentle awareness on our breath, that calm, steady inhale and exhale. And if you did on the other side, you're welcome to try extending the left arm over the head and threading the right arm underneath. Gentle needle. And we'll slowly come out of that, using our hands as support, stacking the vertebrae, coming over onto the left hip once again, coming out of that into all fours and stepping back into our last down dog. Deep breaths in, curling the toes under, lifting the hips on the exhale, finding stillness or a final opportunity to rinse out. Two more breaths. And we'll float our knees all the way to the earth. Starting in extended child's pose. Toes come together, the knees can be wide. Bring our arms out in front of us, supporting on our forearms, shifting or finding stillness. Maybe we bring our fists underneath our foreheads or our hands. Settling into the pose and to our breath. Perhaps reflecting on any intention we may have set at the beginning of our practice. Congratulating ourselves for getting to the mat, for making time for ourselves and our community, for being present in this moment, nourishing our bodies as they need. We'll gently pull ourselves into prone pose. Inhale, lifting our hips, bringing our knees underneath us and gently walking the knees back and the arms forward, allowing our hips to come to the earth. Letting our lower back settle in. And then bringing our chest down. Slowly bringing our hands underneath our foreheads. Finding comfort in this pose for our final resting pose today. Drawing our breath from the head, wrapping it around the spine, each vertebrae nourishing like a ribbon floating down into the tailbone. And running through a body scan from head to toe. Checking in with every part. Noticing areas of comfort and discomfort, lightness and heaviness. bodies the time it needs to imprint our practice. Perhaps setting a new intention for the days ahead. And with compassion and gratitude in our hearts and minds, we finish our practice in our own time. Bring awareness back to our joints, wiggling our feet around, our wrists, perhaps pressing back into child's pose, down dog, or simply rolling out of this.
Thank you all for joining me today and for making time for your practice in your body. Namaste.